For this session we'll just be continuing on. We're actually on page 5 of Arete, but we're going to just link over with the opening prayer. May the wisdom of the all-compassionate one so shine within our hearts and minds this day, that we may be enlightened in our acts, thoughts and deeds. So shall we learn to be true, good and happy, and attain the spiritual peace. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. So, welcome back, and let's continue. So we just finished Rediscover Fulfilling One's Role in Society. The last paragraph ended in talking about, as a citizen on whom the future of the nation rests, the society expects you to fulfill your role by following the laws of the land, respecting and loving your country, and studying well so that you can be a productive member of the society. Okay, so we're also looking at the way that we have physical changes during adolescence and intellectual changes. There are social changes and emotional changes. So I'd like 4 students, 1 for each category: physical, intellectual, social and emotional, to share your thoughts and your observations about changes. Okay, so I'd like 4 volunteers to do that, and that can be done. It's not in a fixed way, the way that you can change. Depends on, with the class, what we're currently doing, if it's Zoom or just on Messenger, and any other way we might be able to be doing that, might even by face-to-face by then. Okay. Alright, so you can pause on any of these slides and kind of things, you know, physical changes. Physical changes are many, including your hair growing on your head, hair growing on your arms and body, intellectual changes, or growing taller, or boys starting to get an Adam's apple, or even some hair on their lip and chin, or people on their legs as well. You notice intellectual changes, start to be able to think and make questions and ask about almost everything. I remember what's the capital of this country, and why does this happen, and what's that for? Social changes as well. Start to take an interest in groups and hobbies as well, and start to explore society more by going and making some visits and trips out on a bicycle and exploring a bit more, climbing. And emotional changes, start to notice that the primary emotions, things like not wanting, wanting, and a sense of yourself get stronger and more clear, and you start to get insight about how they work. And I'd like that, so 4 people to share their thoughts and observations about those changes. Let's move on. Now I'd like you to answer the table in fulfilling one's role in society at the bottom of page 5. Those of you who are on PDF or just using the YouTube only, the video there, I'll be giving you that, basically that table now, so you can take a screenshot of that and use that as well. So we have the status, and that's if you're not clear yet, that this is explained in the paragraphs above, fulfilling one's role in the society. So you can also go back up these previous video to review that. But if you circle the word status and roles during that, you can get your ideas there. They're things like as a member of a family or a member of a school or working somewhere. Those are three examples, but there are more different ones. When you are that person, what role do you have? What that's kind of duties and functions, things you must do, like as a student. Yeah, you have certain things you must do. That's your role. Okay, I'll leave you to fill in those, and then let's move on. Again, you can pause and you can screenshot. That's a way you can get that information. Let's go over the page. We're going on to page 6 now, and we have responding positively to changes in one's body and appearance. So what are the changes that you have experienced as an adolescent so far? What are the changes that you have experienced as an adolescent so far? Perhaps you have already noticed that the biggest changes were physical ones, the most noticeable ones. You might have noticed too that some of your friends and classmates have grown quickly, while others have done so slowly. This is perfectly all right, since by the time everyone has reached late adolescence, most of the slow growers will have caught up. So by the time you're in grade 10 or grade 9, that means. Close observation will tell you that the body shape between boys and girls differ during the so-called growth spurt. Girls become more curvy, narrower at the waist, and broader at the hips and shoulders, while the boys become broader at the shoulders and more muscular. Also, the voices of young men deepen and they start to grow facial and bodily hair. However, remember that the physical growth spurt has nothing to do with the maturity of a person, how they behave, what choices that they make. Many adolescents who look physically mature may still think and act like children. As your body undergoes change, it is very important that you take good care of it by eating a nutritious and balanced diet so that you can attain your full height and strength. In adolescence, you will begin to look the way you are going to look as an adult. Some changes are permanent, as dictated by the genes of your parents, while some are only temporary. Pimples or acne can be bothersome, but this is just temporary and all part of growing up. Just like everyone else, you cannot do much about your physical appearance. However, you can do something about how you think and approach life. It is okay to feel a little awkward during the period of adolescence. All the changes happening of this stage may be overwhelming to a young person, but remember that everyone goes through it. Perhaps you have noticed too that you are sometimes moody, irritable, and angry one minute, and then feeling pleasant and excited a short time later. Sometimes you feel so happy you're floating on air. At other times, you're so miserable you want to hide from the world. Keep in mind that these mood swings happen to most adolescents. The important thing is that while you are an adult, you learn to manage your emotions and not let them make you do things that you will later regret, later. Remember, these are trying times, but an exciting time too to grow, learn, and prepare for your future. Okay then. Next, we'll move on to cultivating the ability to make careful decisions. What are values and how are they important in this critical juncture in your life as an adolescent? According to Shalom H. Schwartz in Basic Human Values, an overview, values refer to what is important to us in our lives, which can be security, independence, wisdom, success, kindness, pleasure, and others. Also, he stressed that each of us holds numerous values with varying degrees of importance. Schwartz also explains that values are desirable, trans-situational goals varying in importance, which serve as guiding principles in people's lives. The key concept for values is that they serve as guiding principles in our life. Let us stop for a while and reflect upon this special period in your life. Adolescence can be described as Sturm und Drang, that's in German, or a time of storm and stress. With the numerous changes that are happening in your life right now, you can say that such description is true. When you entered the adolescent phase, you have noticed that significant changes have been happening in your body or physical appearance. Also, your interaction with other people have become more definite and intentional. Now, your parents or guardian, as well as the adults in the society, are expecting you not only to follow the rules, but also to fulfill dutifully and consistently your obligations and responsibilities. Furthermore, there is now a set of expectations on you, how you should behave, the words that you use, or even how you carry yourself. And lastly, you are given more freedom with an understanding that you will choose the appropriate action and will be responsible for the consequences of your decisions. Robert J. Havikhurst shed light on the turmoils and challenges of adolescence through the developmental tasks theory. Havikhurst asserts that development is continuous throughout the entire lifespan, occurring in stages where an individual moves from one stage to the next by means of successful resolution of problems or performance of developmental tasks. He adds that developmental tasks at each stage are influenced by a person's biology, their physiological maturation and genetic makeup, his psychology, personal values and goals, as well as his sociology, the specific culture to which the individual belongs. Hence, in order for a young person like you to develop from adolescence to early adulthood, you need to establish emotional independence from parents. 2, equip yourself with skills needed for productive occupation. 3, achieve a gender-based social role. And 4, establish mature relationships with peers of both genders, both sexes. Looking at your current situation in life with all the changes and expectations, answering the question, what are the values that I hold dear and how do they guide my life, becomes all the more significant. Let's move on then. Valuing a virtue, self-worth. How do you see yourself? Do you think you are worth a lot? Self-worth primarily consists of respect for or a favorable opinion of oneself. It is the sense of one's own value or worth as a person. Young children know their self-worth and believe that they are important and valuable as persons. Unfortunately, as time goes by, their natural sense of self-worth is affected by the comments, expectations, and attitudes of other people. Sometimes they even put themselves down or belittle their self-worth when they compare their lives with the lives of the rich and popular people. All human beings have dignity and are called to have a positive self-worth. Our self-worth, then, should not be based on wealth or fame, but instead be anchored on the belief that we are all capable of doing our best with our talents, that we can contribute to the society. All human beings have dignity and are called to have a positive self-worth. Our self-worth then should not be based on wealth or fame, but instead be anchored on the belief that we are all capable of doing our best with our talents, that we can contribute to the society, and that we deserve to live a purposeful life. Lesson 1 changes adolescent experience. We live in a culture where wealth and social importance commonly dictate the value of a person. However, self-worth goes beyond such limiting notions. Go through the questions below and rediscover your self-worth. And pair up with a classmate and discover your answers. What are my talents? 2, what are my strengths? 3, what are my skills? And 4, what makes me fulfilled? You can go back, you can take a screenshot of that for those who need. Value yourself regardless of your financial status or popularity. Remember, you are not just somebody. You are a unique, valuable and wonderful being who matters. The featured virtue here is self-worth. Self-worth consists of respect for or a favourable opinion of oneself. So let's just take a pause before moving on to trivia, the adolescent, closing prayer. Reverently do we pray to Thee, the Holy and Perfect One. We earnestly resolve to understand Thy teaching and to daily tread Thy path. So shall, like Thee, we may attain the peace of Nirvana. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. Very well done, class. Let's close this video before moving on to the next one in the right time.